At the day 2 of the program, the participants conducted a roundtable discussion and developed a specific commitment on sustaining SIFTA's program. Highlight of the day 2 programs include presentations from different states.
10 civil society each. So already we are building an army of people that are mainstream into reforms that are ongoing from the local government level. For example, when the leaders assessment was to happen, the Planning and Budget Commission reached out to us that they needed civil society to be part of the assessment. And immediately it was these members of the local government accountability mechanisms that participated in the assessment, provided the reports. So in doing that, already we have seen a lot of them that have increased in terms of their capacity to engage in this level. And also for Kaduna State, whenever we are doing, for example, the state town hall meeting, the state MTF consultation, we are doing it virtually in partnership with the Ministry for Local Governments, where in each of the local governments, they are mandated to connect very soon. So these civil society technical working group members meet at the secretariat, participate, ask questions. So already there is that platform, and with support from HELP, every activity we do at the state level, they usually provide support to invite these members of the technical working groups in the 23 local governments. So doing that, we have seen a lot of them, because not everybody will be as interested as all of us. So we've identified a few of them that in their own right, they are already reform champions. If today, me and him, we are not here, and Bell decided to say they are the ones to come here, we are sure that 90% or 80% of whatever we have said, they will still come and say it out here. So we believe with that system, we are grooming a lot of them, and majority of them are young. So we are not only looking at people that probably in a few years they will want to go and take a rest because of it and what have you. But we see a situation when the next 10 years, 20 years, we have a ready army of civil society that have first-hand experience in engaging not only at the local government level, but in engagements like MTF, budget town hall meetings, and other kind of training. So, and most of the engagement we do, we invite government partners, relevant government entities. So they have also gotten that kind of, like, now, he can tell you a number of civil society in some local governments that he has worked with directly, not necessarily us that are seated here. It is because of that kind of culture of creating that dialogue platforms. And I believe that the capacity is improving. They might not be 100%, because of us are also growing, but we believe that we have a ready army, that if we clear this set of civil society at the state level, you have people that will take over soon.
Let me hear from Jigawa.
Let me speak on behalf of Jigawa. You said from the audience now, Abby?
Yes, or there was an existing form of government and citizen relation even before SEPTAS came on board, right? So I would just like to hear from you, right? How SEPTAS, when SEPTAS began, was it like a smooth transition to continue working with civil society organizations, or did you find it difficult? If there were any difficulties, please let us know. I know that there were nine original DLIs before the additional 4. So please let's hear your experience of working with civil society organizations in Kaduna State. How many PLIs you work with civil society organizations?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I remain Dr. Musa. And let me start by explaining that for Kaduna, there wasn't any issue in terms of CS program procession. Why this thing happened was, if you recall, in 2017, we have joined OTP, and the SIFTAS came in 2018. And all these two programs are there to ensure that there is a collaboration between government and citizens. So already, while we are beginning to establish relationship to meet with ODP requirements, all of a sudden, CITAS came in 2018. That further solidified relationship between government and citizens. As far as I'm concerned, I would like to mention that CITAS have participated but not in the implementation of all the ELI listed. I will concentrate on explaining or mentioning some of the DLIs that citizens were actively in participation while the state had met the DLI requirement. The first one, DLI 1, directly CS have involved in the implementation because they always, even though they have not been participating on the preparation, but they always request for the budget implementation board because they are also using such budget implementation board for certain issues, to address certain issues in their own area, particularly the accountability mechanism. They always request that when the quarterly budget performance report, we always refer them to our website where we used to publish the quarterly budget performance report. So also to the DLI 1.2, they have not in any way participated, which is where to measure the deviation between the budget and actuals within the year. Actually, CS have not participated in that. In fact, the state could not be able to make that DLI in the first and second year of CITAS implementation, not until the third and the fourth year of CITAS implementation. Essentially,
so let me just ask you one question. Did you make it open to civil society organizations that you are
Can I please use the mic?
So for this in particular DLI where you're saying CSOs were not involved, did you send out an invitation to civil society organizations to say we would like to work with you on this issue?
okay. For this question, and to be frank, no. If you recall, for the government that were here, I made my presentation. One of the challenges we mentioned yesterday was the concentration of civil society in few sectors. And for that reason, that has also contributed to CS not participating in some of the sectors, which finance is one. And if they are present in that sector, that preparation will be done in collaboration with the CS. But we have not written to CS to say, come. We are liberating on the ODP principle. We are open, we don't need to write to them, they should come and then we work together.
Okay, so let me quote your government. Okay. Your government says ODP is like open marriage. So and when it says that, what it means is that wife will bring 100%, husband will bring 100% to make 100. That's what they always say. It's equal collaboration, equal contribution, right? So if you marry a wife and keep it in the house, and you expect her to do something that she doesn't know how to do, how will you know if you don't even invite her? Do you know if maybe somewhere along the line she knows maybe 10% of what you are looking for, right? So if you invite her, that's when you understand that okay, maybe she might not be able to participate 100%, but she can add to the process.
I think honestly you didn't get, maybe I need to go deeper to explain why we have done that. In Kaduna we have already established that relationship between government and citizens, that they can go and knock to any of the MDAs without that MDA requesting them to come. So that is why we believe citizens should come. Don't wait, and I have been mentioning this in the Imperial Forum, saying that if government did not invite you, come. If there is any resistance from any of the MPs, let us know, and so that we intervene.
Okay, alright. So I'll just go and I'll ask your society counterpart here.
For Kaduna State, like he has highlighted, even before the coming of OGP and SIFTAS, a number of fiscal transfer, number of areas. So generally, when civil society are seeking any of this information, we tend to rely on these laws to go and knock at every ministry. And yes, we have gone to knock with some
ministries where we have also had blockages. But thankfully, the Planning and Budget Commission had already made a commitment to civil society to say any MPA you go and you encounter blockages, you can always get back to us. We would engage them on that. And I'll give an instance. We were seeking a particular information under CADRA, that's the Kaduna Roads Agency, and we had written letters to them citing FOI with road reminders and all of that. So when they refused to respond, we immediately reached out to Planning and Budget Commission. That also, I think some of them or something. The next day, we were invited to the ministry, and from that day, any information we needed did not have to go through Planning and Budget. So for us, we already had some legal backing that we always rely on, not necessarily waiting on government to do that. And even as a result of that, I know that there was a year's budget where they missed a particular requirement of the fiscal responsibility law, that is to hold the MTF consultation. And government wanted to do the town hall meeting, because during the planning meeting for the town hall meeting, the civil society now cited the law to tell them that we have jumped this particular engagement. And as a result of that, they had to suspend the town hall meeting to come back and do that consultation. So for us, we don't wait for them to invite us. We look at the available legal instruments that empower us to go and seek for this information.
Thank you very much.
I think why they have not been participating, honestly, for you to participate or engage, you needed to have that technical ability. So if you look at the composition, some may not have that understanding of how that thing is being prepared. So that is why in my presentation yesterday, I also highlight low technical capacity. For you to engage as CS, you needed to understand the nitty-gritty of what that MBA is doing. That is the only point at which you start engaging and make a viable contribution.
So I'll just ask you one question. I'm coming to Chicago on this. So on this, I'm coming to on this issue of low technical capacity, right? I know that this is a problem that comes across civil society across Nigeria, right? So you have civil society that work on budget and they are not able to have informed engagement on procurement, right? So I know that just like you mentioned rightly, you guys probably worked on DLIF 1 and 2, right? Were you interested in working in other DLIF and you weren't able to? And when you noticed that you weren't able to, what did you do to fill that gap?
All right. Like also for us, based on the commitment of the government, there's one thing that has happened. Any MPA you go, even if you don't know much about it, once you tell them to move government partnership, you're coming on the platform of open government partnership, and this is the commitment that the government has made. Usually, we get that access to participate in other sectors. For example, we have worked closely around with the Kaduna Internal Revenue Service, and as a result of engagements with the IRS, a lot of improvements have been achieved, even around citizen awareness and getting their team and all of this. aspects, and even where there are challenges, civil society are involved to address, especially also around tax for service. And similarly, another area that really civil society have gotten input is working around the audit process. And that has seen a lot of, in fact, the Auditor General this year, we are already talking about engagement where we have public dialogue on the 2021 audited report. And we have agreed that when they are going for fiscal verification, in terms of assessment of value for money, whole stakeholder engagement in that direction. So, in all of these MDAs, we might not say all 100%, but we still have some of these MDAs that are headed by reform-minded civil servants that at any point in time. In fact, we also have some that when something is about to happen and citizens don't know, the civil servant will call you and say, this thing is in the process. I know that Malamasi did that with the interns review. When that was about to be done, he called us and gave us a copy to say we want citizens' input around that. So generally, key MPAs that really are priorities of government. When you enter, you see some level of improvement in terms of availability of information. And you know that almost all information now are on the government website. We get this information, we engage around this information, and even some information we get, we come up to question government. The last MTEP engagement, civil society were able to identify gaps in the revenue projections. Because why? We had documents that showed revenue performance. We were able to do a comparative analysis with what the Auditor General's report has provided. So these documents, I would disagree with him. We have civil societies that have more capacity than also people in government. Because we have engaged, and also the civil society in Kaduna work very closely with the academia, where they also provide a lot of technical support in that direction. And we have instances where we see civil society contribution has improved what they are doing on their side. So it's not only on the part of us criticizing them, we have evidence of how we are also contributing to their performance, even as civil society.
So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. I'm looking at this DI 1.5 and 1.2. The 1.2 is talking about deviation.
Maybe you should speak up louder.
Yeah, about deviation. For example, I just wanted to ask whether we are making contributions based on my own notions that we are contributing. But I wanted to, because of what you have just said, like say so, we are not contributing. For example, we have service delivery civil society organization. Those working on health, education, water, agriculture, and water. The people that are quarterly very performance support, make some analysis to see the area in terms of releases.
You have to speak for your own state.
No, yeah. So looking for the releases. When they see that the releases is not significant, they make a lot of noise, advocacy, media engagement, thereby making government to release more funds. And at the tail end, they achieve that they are 1.2. So in that way, the contribution, what they have to sit down to make that analysis and do that.
Maybe you started losing. I said directly or indirectly. But if you are looking at that perspective directly, you can say no, yes. But indirectly, by advocacy, pushing for more payment, you can say that we have done that. But to say we sat down and then prepare this thing, that's why I say no. But indirectly, they have contributed in achieving this.
Okay, so before you move on to your colleague in there's something that you said that I found very useful, right? And I think that maybe other CSOs in other states can adopt that. You mentioned how civil society organizations in Kaduna State work with academia to fill up your technical capacity gaps, and I think that is very instructive. You could also consider working with the organized private sector. So you want to look at people who are chartered accountants, people who are procurement specialists, who can provide support, technical capacity to help you. Okay, to help you have more informed engagement with government. So yes, let's hear from you, Kano State. Can you advise?
This,
all right.
you see, sometimes I don't see academia are not providing necessary technical capacity to these things. But honestly, as an academician who has no fear of public service, it's very difficult to provide so. So if I may recommend, there are other retirees, people who have worked throughout the cycle. If you can look at how we can persuade them to join this civil society, because they will be given a more impractical hand-on than academician. Those one is theory. Thank you.
Okay, so I hope civil society organizations in the house, you are taking note of. All right. Okay, so Kano State, let's hear your experience.
Thank you. Kano State, actually, we always done much engagement with the CSO through the sectors in the paper activities. But right now, there are so many engagement we have with the CSOs. In DNI 2, there is engagement with them. DNI 4, for the passage of the application law, we invited them to participate and give input. Equally for the DNI 6.1, for the procurement law. We are being invited to so many workshops to give input so that we can formalize the law before passing to the House. So there is a series of engagement with the CSOs in almost all areas, especially for the budget preparation and the town hall meetings. They are now conducting the town hall meetings the CSOs have. They are not champion it. Us, the government side, is only for them to be an observer and also guide. But they are the one champion for the town hall. For the GLI 2, that is the one for the accountability board. We jointly have the discussion and we come up with the CSO. The PAL Act supported Kano with the CSO jointly for the station. So there was a good cordial relationship with them, but I think there needs to be strengthened. There needs to be strengthened. In the OGP side, the Kano State government even have a budget line for OGP in Kano State, where 200 million was kept aside for OGP activities in Kano State, in this 2022. So there was engagement. The other one is the issue of the GNI 4, that is the Lebanon. We had a discussion to come out with the Lebanon policy on the CSOs and Kano. We have been invited before the Kano State come and adopt the policy. So we had an engagement with them without have a good relation. Thank you.
Okay, so for all the other areas where civil society organizations do not really participate, what efforts do you make? What efforts have you put into ensuring that somehow, even if they are not participating directly, you are feeding them information on what is going on, just so that you can get their input into the process? So what efforts have you put into doing that?
The CSOs, which area I know, for example, take the 5, that is 4 horizons. We have the CSO who is in that area 1, take the 1 to 7, 8, and 9, that's our left. Which CSO is following the step up on that? We need to identify that we have that issue.
Okay, so I think the major issue there for CSOs in Kano State is to see how you can specialize in specific PFF cycles. So, for instance, what I'm hearing you say is you have a lot of CSOs working around citizens' engagement around the budget cycle and process, but there's a deficit in other PFM areas. So, while you might have a plethora of CSOs in budget, they are lacking in procurement, they are lacking in revenue generation issues and audit issues. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Okay, 5, 7, 8, and 9.
5, 7, 8, and 9. So that's debt management. Okay, so I think the take home here for CSOs in Kano State is how you can go back and see how you can build your capacity on these specific PFM issues and how you can have informed engagement with the government on those issues. So I'm going to go to Afibo now. Let me hear his own perspective on these issues that you have raised.
Well, thank you very much, Imam. Really what he shared is the practice here, but the only deviation is, SIFTAS as a program is generally PFM related, if I can put it this way. And because, there is also civil society that this is like a new dimension. Start for you to begin citizen discussing budget performance, budget preparation, budget participation, what have you. Previously, our people concentrate much on the issue of human rights, education, health, and what have you. So that's why even as of yesterday's presentation, I said a few numbers of CS are engaged in this process. As way forward, I discussed something of this nature. But looking at the essentials and the needs that we need to, we are the one presence in the system and we need to fit in the gap. That's why we virtually touches most of the DLIs, not only DLI 2. Because I can recall, and yesterday I shared with you that we were part at the beginning of this process, and we understand all these DLIs, and we follow up, especially when it comes to the issue of attainment of these incentives and guidelines provided by the SIFTAS. We had one-on-one engagement with the Life MPS. We engaged them, we wrote letters, although we were not part of the technical committee for SIFTAS at the state level, but we engaged them at individual level. The State House of Assembly, when it comes to the issue of electing these laws, PFM laws, we had a post engagement. We paid an advocacy visit. We even review the procurement and audit law together somewhere. I think it was supported by, it's also part last administration, which they happens to ascend it and chair the present administration. So in that collaborative and individual efforts, we do engage the remaining MDAs to abide by the guidelines and also ensure that they meet up the SIFTAS deadline. Most importantly, if you are looking at the issue of how the data of population look like, is when we are developing most of our activities, we do engage them. We don't even plan a lot. We do engage them even at the planning stage. For instance, our reporting template, our tracking template, we do develop it together with the government officials. Even the time when we want to have the wider sensitization of citizens group, the response to the new PFM laws, I and other team members went in his office, sat with him, present what we planned to do, and he made corrections and observations, and he even specifically selected the responsible personnel that will come and deliver, because they are part of the process. Before, we just intend to just send a letter to the Office of the Auditor General to send a representative to come and make presentation of the audit law. The issue of audit procurement, we just addressed the government trade, but the ones that supported us to identify the responsible personnel and directors who were part and parcel, and they know from the beginning to the end of all the process, and they are in better position to share the information with the other citizens. So the synergy is really yielding a positive impact, and is even has history engagements.
So I have one question for you. In the event that, let's say, all of these things that you have mentioned, all of these activities, and I'm also throwing this back to CSOs in Kaduna and Jigawa. In the event that all of you who are working, maybe you're working as a cluster now, right? Working on all of these issues. And maybe one institute from Harvard or Oxford just comes and says, you are doing a fantastic work, we would like to improve or build your capacity. And they carry every one of you. Do you have other people in civil society that can continue the work while you've been carried away to do maybe a 3 months or 6 months training?
Well,
I think the point I'm trying to get at now is the point for sustainability in terms of engaging, having informed engagement with your government partners. Because one of the conversations we had with the government yesterday was, okay, when people retire, when people are moved from one office to another, what is the plan? To ensure that whoever comes into office can continue these things that you are currently doing. So let's not imagine that you are a civil society organization, you will always be there. In the event that you get one scholarship and you have to go and do a PhD or you have to go and do an executive course for 3 months, right? What is your plan for sustainability?
Well, this is a very good question because year in, year out, I've seen Isa from Jigawa, I've been seeing Goje from Kaduna,
and I've been
seeing
seeing
me from Kano.
Yes.
So it's good to post this question to all of us. And definitely we are doing something in relation to that.
So please can you share what exactly you are doing so that people from Kaduna can learn and people from Jigawa can also learn?
Even as we are selecting the composition of those to participate in this exercise, one of our mentees joined as a participant to this level. And all the way, we have built a structure at local levels that we normally do our engagement with them. And prior to that, we are not going down to the grassroots to collect the input, come forward, analyze it, go to the State Assembly, make presentation, go to ministries for submissions and whatever. But as of now, even last year, I didn't participate in the public hearing. But these guys that we worked with for a number of years, they were equipped enough to go there and make presentations of their demands. And we are no more going down to the citizens at grassroots to collect their input. But these guys that we are working with are not doing that. And they are even partaking in the analysis aspect, and they go there to make the submissions, and they also present during the public hearing. And at this even very forum that we are discussing, one of them is participating in this exercise. So I think we from Kano, something of that nature has already keyed into
Okay, so basically you're saying in Kano State, you've instituted a mechanism of mentoring other people who can do the work as civil society in the event that you are absent. So we would like to hear from Kaduna and Jigawa, but let me take those comments from people in the audience. So do we have anybody from civil society in Kaduna State?
Yes. And one of them is we try to exit a little bit, maybe for some days, with some occasions, and allow others to play their own roles. Understand? So we have ways of picking them from CEOs or other CSOs, bring them to the table of our discussions. And sometimes we give them chance to present, for example, to get their courage to present, to get their courage to develop their own proposals, to get courage to develop our work plan, and etc., etc. Then we will work behind the scenes because we have this culture in our region. Once you see a senior at the front, an elderly person at the front, or a more skillful person at the front, you stay at the back all the time. But when you exit, withdraw a little bit. they might be able to play roles. So this is how we play it out.
Don't worry, we'll round up.
Thank you very much. I understand on behalf of based on the issue of continuity and sustainability, I think I would like to develop on what President has done, that is the implementation to carry along.
They rely
on the documentation.
Yes, documentation.
Yes, to carry along upcoming CSOs to continue with the work. So I think there should be a kind of comprehensive method of developing a profile of what has been happening over the years of budget writing, all these things. Because all these DLIs, to be honest with you, this is the first time we get DLI, all those accounts. So I think it is going to be a very good thing to have a comprehensive platform, maybe online or otherwise, to put the upcoming people along and to give them the message of what is actually happening, how to do what you are going to do.
So so what you're saying is some sort of like a narrated guide for each of
just like
the process. Yeah, the profile of all of these things. So I think that this is your take home, right? Because we are coming from Abuja, I will go back and do my work. So the work is for you to do. You have identified what needs to be done. So you can now sit down with CSOs in Kano State and see how these things are. So I think after this panel session, you can sit down together and take this forward. So I'll come to you, sir, but let's hear from Jigawa and then we'll round up with you. Has it been beneficial to you? Is something that when centers end, you want to continue with it? Why? And
like what I have said yesterday, even before the advent of centers in the United States, we collaborate with civil society organizations in budget preparation. So, and we have public financial management group with the advent of centers.
Sorry. Let me come in. It's public financial management group, right? Does it cut across budget, procurement, revenue, or debt, audit, or because across all?
Yes, they are members of the group. So centers, even the civil society organization, MP-related civil society organization are part of the centers group. We sit together with them, we discuss all the DLIs together with them. And how are we going to achieve it? They give us advice, we give them professional advice, and this is the way we thought. When we implement social we are going to achieve this DLA. We collaborate with society organization, and it is helpful. Even when we finish our citizen budget, we put it on the website, we print it in hard copy, our budget, we write a letter and send to the civil society organization to document it in the office, so that at least if they want to if they want to it online, they will see it online. If they want hard copies, they have it in the office. We collaborate with them and it's helpful.
Alright, so let me hear from your civil society.
And another thing, when we want to engage with them, we write a letter, we write invitation letter to them, we give them with the acknowledgement receipt that they receive the letter and they bring it back to us.
State government is quite helpful, and it helps in building the capacity of civil society organization because I remember when there is this migration from IPSAS to National Chart of Accounts, we find it difficult to look at the budget when we are doing our own appraisal. So we get the budget and the current directorate. We selected some civil society organization to build the capacity around that. Then we have issued around audit report because we wanted to start looking at the audited financial report. So I will also write a letter to Sadema, and he asked around 5 days training capacity building in civil society.
So the government organized training?
No, they didn't organize. We requested for it and they acknowledge. And they train the civil society.
They did now.
No, they are not the one organizing. I didn't even did request for it. It didn't happen.
Yeah, but how many?
Let me laugh. Let me say no. They provided mechanical assistance. People don't request for it. They wouldn't do it. That's the reality. So we requested for it, then they agreed with it, and they trained civil society like that. I remember around procurement, when there is this e-procurement, when this comes, they also write to them that okay, you train all your people without civil society organization. So you need to train civil society organization and e-procurement, and they have done that. Now the economy and fiscal updates. I remember for the last 10 years, we have been training civil, we have been part of a team that have come over there, entered in the state. So we also invite other civil society organizations to participate. When we went to Abuja, we invited Abuja for citizen accountability report. When we come to Jigawa, we invited 20 civil society organizations to participate in the development of citizen accountability report and citizen budget. So that's the collaboration. But however, my experience working with government, whenever they realize you are kind of potentials, then you be a very serious problem. Because what happened was that, what happened was that, for example, let me cite an example of KLI2. KLI2 is like a bright type of civil society organization. We are the one steering the development of citizen budget, citizen accountability report, town hall meetings, and we are not sitting with IBS to provide all these documentations, answer all these questions. So when an issue comes up, there is a line director that they should ask questions around that. No, we just call our organization directly. There is a parent from IBS about ABC. Not so that. That's what is happening. So excuse me, let me learn. Let's learn. Because based on our experience, so I'm giving my experience. You understand? Sometimes, for example, most of us, myself, whether Ayuba, Fatima, and others, when you are not in Jigawa, you don't know whether are you inducing, why come now. That's what they say, come now. Whether you are inducing, whether you are coming, whether you might come, whether you might village, you say you must come. And another big issue of motivation. This is the director. When we are reviewing the 2020 budget, we are on COVID-19, and we are fasting. And I'm living in my village, 200 kilometers. Every time I fly from my village to this, the office of deputy government, we break our fast in that office. It was when I'm inside my car, they bring in 4 bottle water. This happened 3 consecutive times. Then the next day I took my bag. The deputy governor said, why are you going? So I'm leaving. For those who are Muslim, I said, even I'm your companion, I think I've now reached the level that you can attest to my best that I'm very loyal to the government. So, I'm not even if they don't, he said, I've done very good thing. Because all of them, none of them is really inclusive. So we step from 11 to 6, then we go back to our home. No replacement to break our fast, nothing. That's how they continue. I remember the sermon a director, he was living a very hard-to-reach community when we are looking at the debt management PRI. So he said he has to come. I asked him to go, and he told me to come. We should put him on speaker, ask him all these questions. But he said he must come, he's the director. He came, he stayed there, nobody gave me money to pay his car, nobody gave me encouragement, he paid his past there. So I think I must commend the public servant for their commitment and resilience. And they didn't start from doing this one. They continue under all these kind of conditions and action. They continue to ensure that the state has success. That's my contribution. The issue of sustainability. When we ask this question, ask this gentleman, let him come and sit on our behalf. Because he can answer all the questions, he can give all the balance.
Yeah, but
let me know. When you are going to say I should talk, it's just that. So as I'm speaking, Fatima is in Jigawa. She's coordinating the gender and process. She's a member of our organization. So you see whether we are in Jigawa or not, some people are there with the work. Then at the local government level, each of the local government will have civil society organizations that are on peer camp. They track budgets, they make input, they participate around peer camp. As we speak, we are now having a political vote. And all the civil society organizations working on different cohorts like health, education, agriculture, and water. These are two. We are the ones sitting down, doing all the budget analysis and providing the information. Now the story has changed.
First, then we went from that. There was the image with the general public and CSOs inclusive. So at my bureau, even though we have started posting all our views on the website since 2007, when the last museum was in play. So by the time of this government in 2015, it was like emphasizing on what we have been doing. All our activities, all conference award, all progress debate is being shared on the website. SIFTA's own success, the Gaza Procurement Bureau has gone that long in getting CSOs and posting everything on the website. OCDS came into play in a more elaborate way because in the OCD there are minimal requirements that what we have been leveraging on. SIFTAs can expand what the OCDS needs. So we expanded to comply with. SIFTAs came with e-program, which hitherto there is no e-program. So these are some of the changes advantage SIFTAs just go as far as program is concerned. But as far as CSOs are concerned, our engagement has been like I won't say husband and wife, right? Could be because whatever we do, we consult them, we invite them. Either it is big opening, either it is seminar, either it's workshop, which we are able to organize, or which Fal Act is able to organize. We have CSOs in our midst. Because any document that has been, that's going to be approved, has been validated. And CSOs are stakeholders in that aspect. So our relationship, so as far as procurement is concerned, is very cordial. And in general, when a CSO raises an objection on a project, we put that project on hold. Or we will have addressed that issue raised by the CSOs to their satisfaction, then we move forward. And even at the end of the day, we requested the CSOs to put a letter forward that we have agreed with the resolution made. So that has been our relation with them, and that's still what it is. And we intend to continue. Even currently, the governor has approved a portion for us this year, about 70 billion, that we are going to procure for. Hitherto, Slogo EU were sponsoring it, whereby at the first quarter or second quarter of the year, we gather all hands that are on procurement. Be the contractors, be the local people, be the CSOs. We discuss thoroughly what have we done that is outside law last year. What do you want us to change? What are your observations? Even this year we had, I think in the last 1 2 months, we have so many communities. Communities were raised when this, that, we are now trying to address these issues raised in the community before next year's program board. So this governor has approved that, and I believe it has come to stay. So this is a tool of sustainability as far as procurement process is concerned. a portion land has been created for discussing with issues on stakeholder procurement year in, year out, so that whatever has not been done or is being done wrongly, we address it and move forward. What remains for us now, I think, is the electronic version, because last time the Kaduna has ECIs and ES. Instead of have been doing it manually, we write papers to us, we are complaining, we write back, we have a meeting on the side, we discuss things, they write back now, they are auto this. Maybe what we are doing now forward is how to transmit that electronically. The last budget defense we had, even the governor was agreed that that one would be domiciled in his office. Even now, before this break, we are discussing some scholar budget is coming for 2023. So that issue is coming up. But I think quite officially, I remind the government house for the municipal that the government has promised this item will be done, because you also have already designed that similar to what of Kaduna. So now it's what will be domiciled and who goes to that. Because we can't share our from sustainability. Sustainability must have two components: political will and financial profit. Without these two things, sustainability is zero. As far as possible.
Thank you, sir.
So whatever India is going to say, whether they are going to put the government to sign anything, if it's not being backed by money, it's zero. So I think I will stay here and then we'll move forward. Salaam alaikum.
Thank you.
Yes, in addition to what you have said.
Sir, can we please keep our responses really brief, because we are very pressed. No, I know. Additions, any comments, anything you want to add?
Even before citizens in the government are engaging in procurement process, I can remember a citizen can text UGG where they are having an issue with the project, be it services or the provision of any facility. When there's an issue, citizens use the text the DG, and immediately, not more than 24 hours, DG will send his directors. They will call the complainer, including the contractor, to go to the site and observe the complaint that was made, and it was resolved. And also, citizens are also empowered to certify the project before issuance of certificate for project by the Bureau. That's what I think.
Thank you. Okay, can we take a point from the audience?
It is very difficult.
From the outset, I just want to compare what these people have just said about really the CSOs working as far as procurement is concerned. I want to share with you an example of recently what is happening in my local government, a general hospital, a new general hospital that has been in construction for 7 years now. We observe, is an association, that went to the hospital and observed cracks in the walls of the hospital because of long unused. It is now being furnished, it's now being equipped to start work before maybe the end of the June. But we observed fallacies in the building. We found that there are cracks in the building, in the walls. So we wrote to DG Procurement. And he promised us that really something is going to be done about it. This is a community action from the grassroots. We followed it up, and really DG bold
We can take home to see how we can sustain the partnerships, to see that SIFTA schemes continue and are deepened.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So, just as they mentioned that there have been some outputs from the partnership so far in the first sector scheme. But one thing that SEPTA has been able to do is to structure what is expected of government and the technical assistance that is being provided. It's easier for them to say, you do X, Y, Z, and this is what you achieve. And that has also sort of like supported, not really sort of, it has actually ensured that there's a partnership between some civil society. I'm saying some civil society because it's not all civil society right now, but some civil society organization and some of the MBAs in government. And because of the existing mechanisms, OGP itself being one of them, this is something that we've noticed that where sectors has really worked the most, so the states that have achieved some kind of partnership, especially here, like to our states that already have something to do with OGP. So there's that. And other states that have other mechanisms that they've developed. So that means that the co-creation aspect has already is sort of it's helping those states to achieve it. So in sustaining it, I think the first step really is that one thing that we mentioned, and CS also mentioned yesterday, is that not all MPs really know much about sectors. And I understand why. That's because only the MPs that have something to do in sectors that know about it. If you are not involved, maybe let's say if you are not really delivering anything, I don't see why you might want to know about it. But it might be good to expand that knowledge to other MPs. That's one thing. The second thing is also that most civil society need to be involved. In the sense that, so PFM is, if you look at some states, like for instance, in Plateau, they don't have many PFM experts who are civil society. If you go to Jigawa, Kano, and Kaduna, there are many PFM experts. So you go to states like Borno, where it has always been peace and humanitarian issues that they're working on, right? So you have to build the capacity of those civil society first around that. And I think that Pearl is doing a good job in that sense. I'm not saying it because you are here. I'm saying it because I know the kind of efforts that you put into it. And with the planned idea of breaking down all the outputs of the sectors, what they're expected to do, what they're expected to achieve, that guide will help bring more civil society actors and citizens to understand an aspect of PFM. PFM has to be dumbed down for people to get it. If you are speaking to people in respective states, they need to understand what it is that you are talking about. So I think that's one thing. I also think in sustaining it, I said it earlier, I also think in sustaining there should be a standard operating procedure that we can take forward. There's an issue of institutional memory or carrying over what MPAs are doing. You go to audit or you go to procurement, he's here now, and I heard that you said something like that. Many times there are many opportunities that can come. I'm speaking about what I've noticed is that with Nigeria we like book. We want to get PhD, we want to go for another course. Somebody can have like 4 PhDs. When the opportunity comes for you to leave your ministry and you go, there has to be a way that anybody who comes in understand what it is. The same way that they do that, is it memo that is sent to when there's a new PS? They do a memo. There should be like a standard operating procedure that is developed based on sectors. That way, you know that okay, for audit report, when it comes to when you publish audit this year, Citizen Accountability Report is published XYZ. You can do it with maybe PMP. PMP has the resource. For you to download the resource, go to the OGP website. The template is there. Speak to NGF. This is the contact at NGF. You do that. So that SOP can now be something that will work across all the states. So all the SOPs will now be everywhere, so that if you are coming, you know what it is that you want to do. So that's another one I think. Let me just stop there.
Thank you. So over to our OGP now. Yes, and then specifically around the issues of civil society being more involved.
I think for Jigawa State OGP, I think our comments, our effort and the effort of other states, OGP practicing states. But one thing that I wanted was a system development person, I don't want to call myself an expert, but all the same, I think that's my field. So you see, if you go into fragmentations, definitely you are bound to lose your track, and certainly it will likely fail. So with the presence of OGP now in all the states, I think it is very good for us to walk through this system. Because the system development that we're talking about is to enhance the practice of OGP so that things will continue going as we move in and out. But if we work on fragmentations and civil society organizations, I think that may not help the system itself. That may not help not only centers, but other service delivery points. So the civil society organizations, just as I say, like in our own case in Jigawa State, I think the civil society will just drive certain process, then invite the government to come. The same with OGD. OGD in Kaduna and Kano were government driven first, but in Jigawa it was citizens driven, and then invited the government to come in to buy into the concept, and that was what happened up to the time of writing the letter to National Secretariat, and then the process continued. So what will happen is that if you strengthen the civil society organizations, definitely you are now strengthening the system, the service provision, in governance, because now that the government is not focusing much on the civil service itself, civil servants, it's obvious, because the government now is not employing, and the civil servants are retiring. So it means the government wanted to use other means to deliver governance. So I think it's very important, and it's an opportunity for us as OGP practitioners to do all that is possible and needful to see that we strengthen this system and allow whatever that the government will work with the citizens, follow in key into OGP, so that things will continue through other thematic groups, whatever form of structure that was placed in those MDAs. Otherwise, there will be a time now when Minister of Finance or Economic Budget and Economic Plan Director or the due process may be looking for an NGO to work with certainly something naturalness that happen to those people that are working in the system. I think certainly that will allow continuity and sustainability or whatever that, and sustain the gains as well. So I think sustaining gains of sectors, especially in Jigawa, the way I see it, is commendable, something that's so bright, such that we are hopeful and we're optimistic that we'll definitely have that kind of sustainability around the gains and continue beyond sectors. Because as a reformed-minded state in Jigawa State, I think that may not be a problem to us. Thank you very much.
We keep it to OGP. The story is entirely different. With your apology. I believe in the last 4 years, I didn't know which company of the State Action Plan was implemented by OGP. That's number one. Number two, I don't know which voting group is functional and up and doing. So I think the OGP needs to sit up, need to put its house in order in Jigawa to ensure that all these structures, all these things that is happening in Kano, Jigawa, and other states is replicated in Jigawa. And we keep it to OGP. The story is entirely different. With your apology. I believe in the last 4 years, I didn't know which company of the State Action Plan was implemented by OGP in Jigawa. That's number one. Number two, I don't know which voting group is functional and up and doing. So I think the OGP needs to sit up, need to put its house in order in Jigawa to ensure that all these structures, all these things that is happening in Kano, Jigawa, and other states is replicated in Jigawa.
Procurement plans that were captured in most of the budget in 2022 resulted in 113 billion. Other services like ambulances in the health sector, we have what we call open health sector in Kaduna. So citizens were able to raise up issues of shortage of ambulances. 17 were bought, 21 facilities within the state to enable the health sector grow adequately as a case is. And other procurement issues around, let's say, the SIFTAS money. There are the SIFTAS grants that came into Kaduna. For us in Kaduna, the SIFTAS never ended with the state. It was localized, that we call the local government, while we had lifters. So the lifters were giving indicators, and these indicators arrived at having, if you complete it, you have 20 million as a grant from the state for service improvement. So most local government had those grants, and the civil society played a role perfectly to see that the engagements of those grants that came to local governments were judiciously utilized. Like in the local government, the SIFTAS money that came as grant for the local government were used for an evaluated school in the local government, which is now well published, well renovated, and the people there are using its services. And aside that, again, there is this water supply wash, Rewasa project in Kaduna that in the same Igabe local government that somebody, a contractor was issued to provide that services for the community. And he thought it was business as usual. We went and did haphazard construction, haphazard, not knowing that the civil society have an ear and an eye that it's more or less, it's more than that of the evil eye of the AFCC. We flagged it up immediately, and the governor, being a digital man, picked it up immediately, and that contractor was called upon to redo that job, because immediately they had that project, a filling water into the surface tank that was there halfway, based on the construction was poorly done, a filling water halfway to beat the imagination of those who were coming for the supervision, for the what do we call it, for the commissioning. So after that, the community fill up, make sure water fill up the overhead tank, and the whole thing collapsed. And immediately, the citizens, through our apps, eyes and ears, and Twitter handle of the governor, being a reform-minded person, immediately they took up, and that caused him to go back and reconstruct that. And if you see clearly, in most of the 2022 budget, there are a lot of lifters grants that were given to local government that are captured in 2022 local government for service improvement for the citizens at the grassroots level. So for us, I think that synergy working relationship is there based on most of our mechanisms. We have the open Kaduna health sector, we have the open education health sector, and we have the local government accountability mechanism, and the overall BABA, which is the OGP. We are working in synergy to see that service provision are done effectively to our citizens as we engage them through even the budget process that is the first instrument to guarantee service delivery. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So at this point, do you have any questions from those in the audience? Okay, so
maybe if I may raise questions from this side, I don't know whether I can have the opportunity.
time.
Go ahead.
Yes. So perhaps some of the mechanisms to ensure that as we go into transition and we change over governments, we're able to see some of the SIFTAS gains continue.
Thank you very much. Mine is let me refer to the previous moderator that says developing and strengthening systems that will be the key for sustaining the SIFTAS gains and engagement. Looking at this, in Kano, for example, I will be taking in the budget formulation perspective. We try to see that with the engagement after SIFTAS that we create an ownership feeling by the government official as well as the CSO. This is very key and it really helps us in moving to the openness, transparency and accountability in what we are doing in terms of budget formulations. Based on this, the first stage, we all know that the development of the MTEF, that's medium-term expenditure framework, we did it in consultation with the CSO in Kano State, both the technical and also the sensitization sessions. It serves an opportunity for the CSO to see the scientific approach attached to the development of the macroeconomic indicators, which will base the state projections as well as even the development of the state budget. So during this, it really helps also in ensuring that we have a discipline attached to budget reality. I can attest to you prior to the SIFTAS, based on the paper assessment, that if you really want to assess your performance, the deviation should not exceed 15%. But prior to the SIFTAS, you see most of the states, including Kano, the performance deviation is even more than 20, more than 50. Why? Because we didn't incorporate the culture of the budget reality. So, but with the coming of this 2020, 2021, I assure you we achieved that DLI. So, what motivates us towards achieving that is, based on what we are doing, is transparency, accountability, and as well as openness. Because if you are open to the CSO, if you are open to the academia, if you are open to the stakeholders, they may really understand where you are and where you want to go. And it helps us in solving the problem by the CSO of battlefield budget with the incremental expenditure and expenses that you will see an CSO coming with an input or more than where the state cannot cheat up. So engaging this with the common officer really helps us in that.
Incentives of SIFTAS. Without the incentives, how do you think we are going to fare in terms of maintaining some of those gains and meeting those criteria?
I think my colleague is going to say a lot. I think what I wanted to say is that already they have platforms like the Citizens Group, and we also have platforms like the accountability mechanisms that we have across Kano. And it's a mixture of the government, it's a cooperation of government, the media, and different CSOs, and even people with disabilities who have been doing a lot of work around different thematic areas that are affecting people in Kano State. And to an extent, for example, even in the media, we've been able to set some agenda for the state government, which has resulted in a lot of things. For example, there was a time we did a lot of work in the media, and we were able to see to the fact that the government was able to sign in the persons with disability rules in 2018, and which is already been amended now. And soon going to have an engagement with the State House of Assembly based on our interaction with them during the MTF meeting that we had with them in Kaduna with the Ministry of Budget. The CSOs were able to advocate to the State House of Assembly for the speedy passage of that bill in Kano State as soon as possible, and they gave us their assurance and commitment that within this month they were going to do that, and this is what we are seeing. And this is what the citizens have been able to do in Kano for persons with disabilities. And also, based on the commitment of the state government, we've been able to see the fact that people with disabilities, over almost 3,700 of them, have been included in the Kano State Contributory Healthcare Scheme since it's 2 years now. Salisu and I were the focal persons that initiated the process at the Kano Contributory Healthcare Management Agency, and we've seen this initiative has resulted in the fact that people with disabilities now go to facilities, even primary healthcare facilities, to be seen and given drugs and all that. And in fact, some of the people that were able to benefit from it are even asking for more. Because already, unlike these, what's for the civil servants, unlike not for the civil servants, they don't pay a penny. It's free for them to go to the facilities and seek care. And I believe there's a need for us to look at this over-dependency of government on the OGP and the centers. Because everyone is talking about the lack of signing the state action plan, and already my senior colleague here has talked about the need for the national to be able to push the state, and even at the national level, I know there's this engagement between government and the OGP at a very high level. And I think even the Governors Forum should be involved in setting this agenda and pushing for the signing of these action plans as soon as they are done in the states. Because for me, there's no reason why the cooperation of the OGP is there as a platform for engagement. And then with a platform like the Nigerian Governors Forum and the National OGP, every state is, for the KKJ states, they are still crying that there is no signing of this action plan. So I think this is a big gap, actually, because a lot of the CSOs are for example, I wouldn't say their morale is being pulled down because a lot of work has gone into that work, and the lack of proper implementation and support of the state government is killing success. Thank you very much.
We've talked about political will and ensuring that if we don't have this, we will not be able to sustain and ensure that all the things that we talked about and all the impact, results, successes that we will have on SafeTask will continue. So, I know NGF have a charter that they have in mind, and that's in the pipeline, hopefully to be signed soon. But beyond this, what contributions, especially as we go into transition, and how can we sustain some of these outcomes of SafeTask?
Thank you very much. So let me start with the main power that will drive sustainability, which is the support.
In designing our state action plan, we will follow the structure as it is at the national. At the national, we have the National Steering Committee. The state should have the State Steering Committee. And when you decide on your thematic areas, you have to have the thematic working groups. And then after that, which activity are you going to engage on to see that you implement your thematic area? And you know it's a co-creation. In each of these structures has to be 50-50 for the government and the civil society. And from the structure of OGP2, it has given you an opportunity to self-evaluate yourself of how far you have gone. That is independent evaluation mechanism. What we always advise to say, remember, OGP is all about local problem and getting a local solution. There's no one fit solution for all states. You decide which thematic area you work on, but it has to be built on the core principle of OGP, that is transparency, adaptability, citizen engagement, and using innovation in driving and connecting with your citizens. So, Once you have that, you need to first evaluate yourself. The National Secretariat will not come and say, I want to evaluate you. So we always advise, when you are evaluating yourself on how far, so far, you have to be honest. You have to be honest. Because after you say, this is what I have done, I have achieved, there's another one that is coming to look at all this. Okay, you said, okay, in this local government you did this. It's time for me, I want to see it. So that's the transparency aspect of it. So if it is a problem that you feel you need to broadcast, there are also mechanisms of communication. And luckily the national coordinator is the secretary to NEC. So there's this platform where the NGF is doing their own, and the National OGP Secretariat will also have a way of communicating to the government as a reminder. We are not in Kano, and then there's a platform now as a national advisor, you can reach out to me. Okay, this is the area we think we are having issue. How can OGP National come on board and we sit down and discuss it? So I think this has helped. Not just, because you're just in KPJ. I'm sure you go to other states, we hear something like this. And it's very important we learn from our experience. Thank you so much. And at this junction,
I don't know how the National Secretariat will also discuss with the OGP and National Coordinator. Let MGF and OGP begin to talk to themselves better, so we can advocate for all these things, including the NEC as well. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Let me just, yes, it is very important, but the point I want to make is, you have to speak to us. Every month we are expecting a progressive report from each state. Actually, when you are sending a report is not all about, we are doing well, yes, say where the problem is. Yes. If you escalate the problem, then we take it off from there. But we need to have a report on a monthly basis. This is where we are, this is what we are doing, this is what's not working for us. Then we know how to form it. Speak out. And then like now, taking all this recommendation and everything back and see with the whole stakeholders how we can even better on it. Some of these issues escalated to the National Steering Committee.
Just 2 seconds.
Who is taking 2 seconds? If you are still hungry, who another?
Can I get, once the secretary has been appointed, can I get email addresses of those secretaries so that I can send this to that person via email? Thank you. So for Kano,
just to call it meeting.
Because if wanda ba aiki a ɗaya ce ko ba ƙarƙashin sa kuma shi
Some of the participants interviewed at the end of the program shared their experience on the two-day workshop.
I'm Mustafa from Jigawa State, member of Civil Society Organization working on public financial management. Our major takeaways from these sessions, we even learned a lot, and we have learned from other states and our peers. Our major takeaways is 3. Number 1, we wanted to see the replication of CIFTAS program at local government levels, like what is obtained in Kaduna. Then another one is issue around alignment our CSO activity with OGP in the spirit of continuation and sustaining CIFTAS program in the state. Then another one is trying to engage the PFM program in the state to ensure that all the work plans, program and activities were in line, or the CIFTAS programs was captured and embedded in the programs. So, as a civil society organization, I try to see that we mentored and engaged wider CSO so that they can be tracking and holding government accountable to ensure that the PFM reforms are maintained and sustained and mainstream within the public service.
So has this session actually been useful to you?
Yeah, it's very useful because I have learned a lot, and I have seen our gaps as a civil society organization, and we have seen how other states are overcoming their challenges. So our major issues is around mentoring other CSO in the event So if we wanted to see the CIFTAS program sustained and maintained, we also need to have a CSO, civil society organization that will be working around other disbursement link indicators to ensure that they keep on track with the public officials, to ensure that they are delivering and producing in a timely manner the public financial documents.
My name is Awal Mohammed Bello, Director of Budget Jigawa State and CIFTAS focal person from Jigawa State. The lesson I learned, I have some takeaway from Kaduna and Kano. One, we are going, since even though CIFTAS program has come to an end, and I learned from Kaduna to develop a tracker for monitoring the activities of CIFTAS, that the budget implementation report will be published within 4 weeks of the proceeding year. So if you develop a tracker, all the public financial management agencies that will be tracking them to see whether they have published their report or document online. So I take out this, and then we are going to we have CIFTAS core group. We are going to have sub-CIFTAS core group, those staff that will get into CIFTAS group. We are going to make them to become CIFTAS sub-core group, so that at least they will continue with the reforms. They will continue with the public financial management reforms. And we have already revived our public financial management core group, and we have already trained them. We give them the terms of reference to the public financial core group, and we even created a budget line for that public financial management core group. We created budget line, and the governor approved in 2022 budget. The governor approved 20 million for that budget line, so that the activities of public financial management group will be adopted. Since we have budget line, we will not have problem of finances from the state government.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Yusuf Goje. I'm from Coalition of Associations for Leadership, Peace, Empowerment and Development from Kaduna State. And one of the key impact of this engagement is that we've learned a lot of lessons from Kano and Kaduna and Jigawa states, particularly how they work with their government counterparts in developing critical documents in the state. For CIFTAS, we've learned that in Jigawa State, for instance, it is the citizens group that are leading on developing DLI 2.2, which is in terms of citizens input documents, the citizens budget, and the citizens accountability report. And that is one key lesson that I have learned, and it is something that we want to go back to Kaduna together with our government partners to see that we replicate. And even as we speak, it is already in our commitment going forward to ensure that citizens improve on their capacity to be able to lead in developing these critical documents that would enhance citizens' participation in the budget process.
Thank you.
My name is Badamasi Musa. I'm Director of Planning, Planner and Project Commission, also a CIFTAS focal person. Actually, this section has been very impactful because we have shared experiences among the three states on what worked well and what did not during CIFTAS implementation. And basically, the takeaways from both states, we've learned a lot from one another, particularly
we have learned so much from Jigawa and Kano in terms of civil society management, and also some of the strategy they are employed in the implementation of SIFTAS in the last 4 years. And we hope that we also look at how we can also leverage on that to see how we adopt such strategy in the implementation of future World Bank programs.
So like what in specific?
Like for Jigawa, we have appreciated how they have been mentoring civil society organizations in such a way that in the absence of the core leadership of the CS, others can also quickly take over from where they stopped.
My name is Agib Hamisu from Kano, civil society activist under Kano Budget Working Group. Well, this session is really educative and interesting because as it was taught, it's a learning and experience and sharing session. As it is going on, we already take away some key lessons and practice that we think when put in place, it will go a long way in amplifying the course of our activities here. Specifically, I take away the issue of establishing the local government accountability mechanism, which the Kaduna State civil society and government partners share with us how this accountability mechanism helps in expanding the activities at grassroots level. Although here in Kano we have something related to that, but it's not as robust and as inclusive as how the Kaduna did their own local engagement. So we really take that one as a takeaway, and it will definitely be put in place in our context. And I think the second question is, it has to do with the impact of this. While working with the government partners, it really gives you a simplified version of your engagement, because at a time you can scale down a number of requests and advocacies and share useful information to this government partners working together with them, which this kind of SIFTAS engagement concretize.
My name is Imam Iwabale. I'm the SIFTAS vocal person for Kano State. This session has impacted seriously. One, there's so many lessons learned from other states. Specifically, I can make mention of the Kaduna. In Kano, we have only two technical and state steering committee for the SIFTAS, but Kaduna they have 4, so we are going to copy on that direction. And the other direction in the issue of the participation of the citizen at Jigawa, where certain maybe a token allowances or something was given to them in 2020. So we are going to see how we can take along the CSOs in Kano to see that we partner with them, equally we support them technically and financially. This session is important, it's a great important to us because SIFTAS is coming to an end. That is 2021 is the end of the SIFTAS program. So how to sustain the gains of the SIFTAS. So in this session, we have discussed on how to maintain all the good work or good activities that we are carrying out in the sector objective, especially in terms of the budgeting and financial sector, where all the budget has to be published before the end of the year. Equally, the financial statement, that is all the budget has to be published before the September. So we are going to maintain it. All the states have agreed to maintain all these sectors gains.
My name is Dinga Ulike. I work with the NGF Secretariat under the SIFTAS program. This 2-day program has been very impactful, bringing together a cross-section of CSOs and government partners, as well as implementing partners of the SIFTAS program has been a very fruitful event. For me, coming from the governance space where we help to support states to deliver capacity programs to help them achieve the SIFTA's DLIs and to improve fiscal transparency and accountability, which is the main objective of SIFTA's program. Working with the civil society groups and having insight into what they do has really opened my mind. And for me, it's to take back strategies and approaches to my organization regarding sustainability. And one of our approaches regarding sustainability is to support the advocacy for strengthening CSOs. And I believe it's something my organization will be very interested in regarding sustainability. But most importantly, this session has been a cross-learning session where we shared ideas. It was very interactive. And like I said before, for me, it was opening an eye to listen to the perspective of the CSOs and gain new insight. I'll take these comments and recommendations back to my organization, and I believe we can collaborate to foster improvements in fiscal sustainability and transparency in Nigeria. And in the long run, it will improve service delivery across the nation and, of course, the economic well-being of Nigerian citizens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The timeline is October 2020. The responsible party for this activity is the co-chair of the Jigawa State. Second, training and return of non-staff actors on sectors. October 2022, the responsible person, we say the chairman of PNP Co-Group. Since I'm the central spokesman person, if I read, I will read the Commissioner of Finance, the chairman of the Co-Group. When we read any support, you know who gives us the support. That's why we nominate him as the chairman, the responsible person to this training and training. Advocacy for the conduct of PNP rapid assessment. October 2022, non-self actors co-chair. The monitoring the adoption of international and national framework in SIFTAS. November 2022, SIFTAS focal person. Then advocate for the establishment of local government fiscal transparency, accountability and stability program. This one, on national general account, we have already from budget, we intimidate, we talked to the Commissioner Ministry for Local Government, we give him a letter that is good to all the local government, their budget, their accounting procedures should be on national general account. And they are now trying to deploy the service of consultant to develop that chart of account for them and software. Then for this SIFTAS, the chairman who group, that is the Commissioner of Finance, they can easily understand the same language of the Commissioner of Finance in terms of establishing this for local government. That is the local government, business consultancy and democracy and stability program for the local government. Even at the council level, say executive council level meeting, they can discuss and intimate the governor. If he approves everything, they will be perfect. That's why we say in September, when we reach home, we bring the Commissioner of Finance. He is the chairman for this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was quite brief.
Sorry. The restructuring and inauguration of OG Technical Working Group, September. OGP co-chair is the one who will lead for this restructuring because of the issues. He is the one who leads the structuring of the OGP Secretariat in Jigawa State. The responsible person is the OGP co-chair. He will be the person who will be responsible. If he didn't, we will hold him responsible.
So thank you very much again, Jigawa. Please note all questions. At the end of this presentation, we can ask you questions. Thank you. All right. But other states might have questions. You never can tell. Right. The next state represent is Kano State. So the lead person for Kano should come forward and make his presentation. I'll have to. How many people are presenting for Kano?
No, thank you very much. It's like Sabiano is not around, right? Now, this is what we have in Kano. Okay. This is what we have in Kano. First activity or commitment or action is we are going to expand the citizen group network on governance across all sectors. We have 11 sectors. Some of the sectors don't have this, so we are going to expand it to cover the remaining sectors that didn't have the working group under that. September, responsible is Sabiano and Salisu, and also capacity building to expand citizen group, of which it gives direct bearing to the first commitment. Of course, when you expand, they need to have a capacity building so that they can now take the responsibility of what is expected to be doing. October 2022. Responsible, though we say Kano Budget Working Group, we made the leadership of the Kano Budget Working Group. Number 3 activity is strengthening the sector planning team of MTSS in the 9th sector, of which we have health, education, environment and sanitation, commerce and industries, water supply and rural development, infrastructure, women, youth and PWD, transport and agriculture. Provided you have the sector planning team, of which we can have a representation of civil society organization, it's like we are speaking with the whole state issue, of which whatever we are looking, we now have the participation, the involvement of civil society that will now representing the larger community. 3rd quarter of 2022. The responsible for that, of course, we have Director M&E at the Ministry of Planning and Budget. Director of Planning, sorry. Then, number 4, establish sector planning team in the remaining 2 sectors. Of course, we are talking about the governance and sustainability. So we need to have a planning team at this remaining on governance, institutions, security, justice, and emergency. When are we going to have that? November 2022. Director of Planning and Budget. Ministry of Planning and Budget. But the specific person, because if you said just Ministry of Planning and Budget, at the Ministry of Planning and Budget, you need to be specific. Then we also have on the number 5, establish local government accountability mechanism to have like a budget performance platform. So at interval of every 3 months, this group, they need to sit with the local government to have like a scorecard that cannot checkmate the performance of the expenditure at the LGA level. When to have that is September 2022, and the citizen group, also the Ministry of Local Government. Of course, the Kano Budget Working Group, they are the ones who are going to facilitate in conjunction with the Ministry of Local Government. Number 6, we need to have a co-opting citizen in all governance programs and policies. This one is going to be continuous. The program is there, but we need to strengthen this issue of co-opting in good governance programs and policies of the sectors we have enumerated previously. Then, who are the responsible? Ministry for Planning and Budget, specifically Director of Budget. Then, last one, number 7, is to ensure all reports are hosted online and accessible to general citizens in line with the SIFTA's guideline. This one too need to be a continuous to have that published report so we can have transparency, we can have case to make in terms of asking questions. Then number 8, to simplify PFM stages and develop budget process manual. Of course, that quarter of 2022, Secretary PFM, Public Financial Management, we put it in an abbreviation. Then we also need to have a participation participatory monitoring, because most at times State House of Assembly government are going to monitoring, but without involvement and participation of civil society or citizen group. So if possible, we need to have to enhance on what we have, because some sectors are involving just few number of civil society. But what we are intended now, let's expand the scope so that every sector, if they are going out for any monitoring, let's carry civil society along so that they can see, they can make case, and they can raise questions. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Kano. That was a good presentation. So much items about 8 or 9. Thank you. Kaduna, I hope you're ready. Last presentation is expected from Kaduna. Who's the lead? Where are you? Kaduna, please. It's your turn. Are you speaking from Kaduna? Sure. There is nobody. Kaduna, not around.
We have just very few put in place. The establishment of a community of practice on sustaining the SIFTA's reform implements the commitment. Third quarter in 2022. We feel it is very important for all of us to sit down, both those on the government side, civil society, establish a practice community where all lessons we learned will be harnessed and take it forward. We suggest a timeline of 30th of September, and persons responsible, we say both the government and CS. Goje of CADPEP will be on the part of the CS, while Badamesi, the Director Planning Budget and Commission, will also be part of those that will be responsible for sparking up the process. Secondly, we thought of training of a sustainability committee on the reforms. Those reforms are very laudable. We felt sustaining them are very paramount for going forward so that our engagement will be positive. We talked of the fourth quarter of 2022 and being reformed issues that are strictly government affairs. We are there to just complement some of those reforms. We felt who is fully responsible is Budget and Planning Commission, and it is headed by Deputy Director Planning Badamesi, who is here present. Sensitization and training on e-procurement and the open contracting data standard publication. We felt that is a continuous thing. We should be doing it quarterly. And we believe that who should be responsible for that should be the Public Procurement Authority, which our able organ is here to take responsibility and inform us diligently when the time is due. Also, increase in the involvement and strengthen the capacity of the accountability mechanism to take ownership. Despite everything, we still need capacity
not for just a very few of us who are here, the wider civil society who had different mechanisms in health, education, water, agri, and the local government accountability mechanism. We so believe that if a more capacity training exercise is done, we will not be just a very few of us who will have that capacity, but a lot more will equally gain from it. And we thought that could be, we thought that could come as a continuous, that should take place as a continuous process. Every quarter we should be willing to do that, and that could be handled with the civil society, because issues of those accountability mechanisms are civil society driven. So CALPET, who is headed by Yusuf Goje, will take responsibility, and my humble self, Ko Abdul Usman of Campaign for Democracy. The fifth one is the adoption of the development of citizens' input document. So apps, citizens' budget version, and citizens' accountability report. We'll do that. For now, it has been going on annually, and we feel it should continue. And CAPEL are responsible for it, and the Budget and Planning Commission, because most of the information we get through this citizens' input and the version of citizens' budget can not only be handled by the civil society alone. So we believe the dual responsibility should be for who should tell us when and how we will synergize to get it done properly. Advocacy to Kaduna State House of Assembly to review and amend relevant laws like the Fiscal Responsibility Law, the Procurement Law, the Public Finance, and the Control of Management Law to include SIFTAs. For now, this is just more or less like a policy initiative, a policy drive. But we want it to be a law within the system, so that through advocacy, the House put it in place as a law in the state, so as to harness it well and make sure that whosoever is coming, whether there is a change in government, it is a law, but it is a law that is backed by the authorities concerned. And such will start by the fourth quarter of 2022, and I think the civil society will be part of it, and the Ministry of Justice still will help in making sure the process is being documented and it has become a law within the state. Signing of a social contract with governorship candidate on reforms and service delivery areas. For us, we have set the motion on this aspect because the agenda is a process that we are engaging most of the candidates of various political parties so as to buy in with key reforms that are really pertinent to the development of Kaduna. And by creating that agenda, civil society and citizens have a way of making the candidates sign a charter. So by so doing, that charter will create an enabler for continuity of those positive reforms, and will throw away those that are negative in nature. That it is ongoing, but we intend to engage them more properly December 2022 to January 2003.
where debates and other things will fall in line. But for the radio programs already, it has been ongoing. And CALPET and Campaign for Democracy and other civil societies are handling that. But for now, alignment of OGP with SIFTAS. OGP and SIFTAS are two different government policy reforms. So we feel we should align them by fourth quarter of 2022. And Yusuf Goje and Director of Planning Budget will be responsible for who handles that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kaduna. That was an elaborate presentation. And Kaduna. All right, thank you very much to all the groups for your presentations, all your commitments, timelines, and responsible persons have been taken note of. It's also important to take home something important from this session. The commitments are what you need to keep very close to you. Otherwise, you're going to miss on a lot of timelines, and then the responsible persons should also be in focus to remember the timeline. Thank you very much. I'd like to hand over to the facilitator of the day.